Welcome to the ultimate one-shot katana build for Naoe, a perfected version of my previous deadliest katana build that, well, deals truckloads more damage. I haven't seen any other build even come close to it, so welcome to my full guide to become the greatest Shinobi of all times. Probably the most satisfying and fun build in the game. Let's get started. I've literally spent dozens of hours playtesting this build and working towards making it perfect. So therefore, it would mean the world to me if you can spare 1 second of your time and hitting that like button, and of course share your thoughts about the build in the comments down below. Maybe you have suggestions to make it even better. Let's start off with something very important I still see many people mess up. Stop using legendaries. Simply avoid them in general. They can be useful in the early game for a nice stat bump or special abilities, but the engravings they come with can also be put on epics. In not a single situation are you gonna need 2 legendaries on one single item. In general, normal engravings come with much better bonuses in terms of damage increment. There are 100 more reasons why you want to go for epics, which I share in a video you can find in the top right of the screen. In today's video, I'm also going to share how you can target farm the best epics with high stat rolls, which easily beat legendary. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's start off with my weapon, the Fortified Katana of Discipline. I found one with a golden stat roll today, which came with a plus 24% damage when hitting vulnerable enemies, on which I decided to put another plus 30% crit chance when hitting these targets. So if you always hit vulnerables, the damage on them is gonna be insane because the chances you're gonna crit them is gonna be high as well. That's what makes this a top tier roll. An amazing weapon. With the methods I will share in a bit, it's going to be pretty easy to find these. The one which I used in my previous build is the Ardent Katana of the Monk. It also comes with a 30% crit chance when hitting vulnerable enemies, on which I decided to put that plus 24% damage engraving, making it pretty much the same as you can see right here. The engravings are just the other way around. None of the legendaries, they're all terrible. Instead, focus on the damage tab and search for things like damage with posture attacks, damage when HP is full, because that should always be the case if you're just one-shotting enemies one by one. There's also a plus 15% damage per adrenaline chunk filled. I can't find it right now, so the chances are high you will only find this specific engraving as first one when you actually find the loot itself. You won't be able to put it on there as secondary engraving. A 100% armor piercing on critical hits is also super satisfying as you don't have to remove any of those yellow bars. Easily cut through the flesh, which I found on another item. As secondary weapon, I use a Tanto. Not the most important one to talk about, but still amazing vulnerability damage right here. A golden stat roll, also plus 20% crit damage with melee weapons, and another plus 24% damage when hitting vulnerable enemies. So in general, focus on increasing your critical strike chance against vulnerable enemies, and of course also the damage to these targets, the critical damage, etc. Now, for the armor, let's start off with the hood. This is a pretty important one, as you're gonna need to find a specific engraving. As you can see, we have this vault over enemies while sprinting, which you will automatically unlock when you pick up the legendary Onimusha headband. Just pay Yamato a quick visit, specifically the northwestern part of it, Kusarigama Castle, as after you've taken out all the Daisho right here and opened the chest, that's where you will find it. So now you have the golden engraving unlocked and the legendary itself becomes irrelevant. You want to search for something with much better stat rolls, like this Oreo mask with a golden adrenaline gain, plus 12% damage with melee weapons, etc. I currently use this one, a plus 24% damage when hitting vulnerable enemies, on which you can place this legendary engraving as secondary. And bam, you've made yourself a much better than legendary item. This will become even more clear when we talk about my trinket, but let's quickly check out other engravings which can be relevant for this build. This is where you can find plus 16% damage when HP is full. That's a pretty decent one, but not amazing. I would say this is the absolute best roll. Instead of the plus damage when hitting vulnerables, you want to maximize your critical strike chance when you hit these targets. With an insanely high crit chance against these targets, you can pretty much always one-shot them. There are some masteries which can up this as well. We're going to talk about that in a second. But that's basically what you want to focus on with your headgear. If we look at my chest, I found a Revenge of the Onryo robe. I saw so many people ask, where did you find this? Well, again, random drop chance. I'll share how you can find them fast in a bit, but this one comes with a plus 50% damage on next hit after using abilities, and another 60% posture damage on next hit after also using abilities. See where this goes? Any type of damage plus 50, posture plus 60, which means if we specifically execute a posture attack, it will guaranteed have a plus 111% increased damage after we use an ability, which is the workflow of destroying enemies. You simply rush through them with your tidal wave ability, which automatically makes them vulnerable. We're gonna do a vault after that as well, which also makes them vulnerable, amplifying our damage output even further because there are also mastery upgrades for that, and then charge the posture attack and bam, simply one-tap the target in a super satisfying way. If we quickly have a look at all the legendary engravings you can find, these are simply terrible, especially because I see so many people play with guaranteed assassinations. These are simply irrelevant. Just go with raw damage increment. That's gonna make your armor top tier. Then, last but not least, we have our Trinket. This one comes with 100% armor piercing on critical hits, on which I put a legendary engraving called the +2 critical damage per mastery point in Katana. I've used another one for a very long time, also super relevant for this build. That's the one with a plus 15% damage per non-legendary gear equipped. And this is where epic builds become far more superior versus legendary ones, as right now we have a total of 6 purples, that's 90% increased damage, 75 if the horse doesn't count, but I see many people mention that it actually does. If you have the proof or the numbers to tell, let us know in the comments and share your arguments on our Discord. I'm sure many of you guys right now think that this would be the absolute dream combo. Plus 15% damage per non-legendary equipped, combined with a plus 2% crit damage per mastery point in Katana. Well, I did a lot of testing and I can confirm that the 100% armor piercing on crits is essential to take out especially the beefier dudes with a whole lot of armor. You simply ignore everything of it and cut straight into the flesh. If you don't find it, you can always use this posture damage on abilities or other options we've talked about earlier, but right now you're probably interested in how you can unlock these legendary engravings. Automatically unlock if you find the legendaries themselves. For the plus 15% damage per non-legendary, travel to the Kawashi Heights, specifically the Teratsusuki Den. This is where you can pick up the legendary from a chest, while for the 2% critical strike damage per mastery point in Katana, you want to make your way to Ki, because this is where you can find the legendary item on his bite. Specifically at the Torike cave, I think it was called, but you want to search for this ship icon on the map. That is where you will find the entrance of the cave, south of Nakaheshi Route. So, now that we've talked about all the gear, I quickly want to share the most reliable and efficient ways of getting your hands on top tier epics with these sweet stat rolls and of course also baked in engravings that are gonna make not break your build. The first one is simply taking out all the Ronins, elites, Samurai Daisho you come across during your adventures. When you loot them, the items and of course the stat rolls on them will always be randomized. This is how I found my beautiful fortified katana of discipline earlier today after taking out a random Ronin. I want to remind you that this is sheer luck, but it can also happen to you. So don't remove items before you've seen them. The absolute most reliable and fastest method on getting your hands on these items, prove me wrong in the comments if you think you have something different, but this is what you want to do. Open the world map and travel to any gear vendor in the game. It's important to know that every single one of them comes with the exact same stock. It is not worth checking out other ones, but this is where you want to be. Simply interact with them, check out their wares, and if there's something interesting, sweet, purchase it. Most of the times though, you'll have to just wait for better items to pop up. This is where you want to abuse the seasonal system. So let me quickly explain how it works. When you open the map, you see a clock in the top right. Now it's clearly autumn. with the 3 leaves, but in this clock you can also see white bars. When all these bars fill up, the season is about to change. This will automatically happen, but as long as you don't quick travel, this will not happen. And you can open the map and you can manually change the season yourself. Wait for this moment, then get to a gear vendor. Or, like me, simply stand in front of a gear vendor, go AFK, make a cup of coffee, do some script writing for videos, etc. But simply pass time in the game, wait for the season change button to become white, and then save your progress. As right now, we're gonna force change the season, and bam! Everything in the world will refresh. Our scout points will fill up to the maximum, resources will be brought to our base, but also vendors, including the gear vendors, will refresh their stock. This means that you can check out all the wares, and if there is something relevant, great, you purchase it. If not, reload that manual save, get back to the moment before the season change happened, rinse and repeat this process until you find the perfect wares on a gear vendor. And after doing this for a couple times, we actually found some amazing items right here on one single dude. So that's it for all the gear and how you can get your hands on it fast. If you enjoy the content so far, would be awesome if you can hit that like button for a second, and of course also share your feedback in the comments. Now we're gonna talk about the mastery, which is especially important for the mid and late game, when you have to deal with high level and very strong enemies. Make sure you reach a high knowledge rank ASAP. This can be done by completing these orange missions on the map. They bring you to a vault, or you have to pay respect at shrines, which is terrible, find lost pages. With knowledge rank 6 or higher, you can start spending mastery points on raw damage increments, like a plus 30% damage when hitting vulnerable enemies. I also have this one right here. Damage with posture attacks, which we can start upgrading a little bit more right now as we've finished more of these events. These 3 aren't relevant for this build, while you can also find more critical damage on the next tier, which is amazing. More critical strike chance and more overall damage. That's what you want to focus on. Damage with melee weapons as well. But yes, let's focus on the Katana Mastery first. This already increases our Katana damage by 65%. But also do this 77 mastery points spent times 2. That is a 144% critical strike damage increment. Remember the Tango's Torment? That is why you want to just spend every single point in mastery for Katana, even though we don't use every single one of them. The most important ones are the Tidal Wave, a fast strike which makes enemies vulnerable. You can upgrade it to deal more damage and chain it 2 times in a row. I don't even have the final one right here, but that is our first ability. The second is the Guard Breaker. Unleash strikes dealing damage to enemies. I barely ever use this one, so I don't even think it's important to get your hands on. But yeah, this can be upgraded to deal massive amounts of damage, especially against high value targets. You can also take the Eviscerate if you like kicking away enemies, also hit like a truck right here. And yeah, also go with this one. Turn your deflect into a counter attack. Perform them against flurry attacks, increase their damage, and also use them against unstoppable attacks. This is what, in my opinion, makes Naoe's Katana builds so much more satisfying compared to Yasuke, as he can't pull these gangster tricks off. Anyways, also upgrade all the dodge stuff right here, and then go for some global passives. Increase damage with melee weapons. Also take the affliction damage. It's useless for this build, but again, all the points spent in this one will further contribute to your crit damage. Also take your damage with consecutive hits to the next level for the same purpose. The Kusarigama tree, also something you want to pick up right here. The final one, critical proficiency, to increase your critical strike damage by another 12%. The only one for this entire build, but yeah, that's a global passive, so it's gonna count towards it. For Tanto, we also have a couple interesting ones right here. Increase armor piercing by almost 20%. Also the Backstabber to increase damage from behind. That's what we do after vaulting over enemies and then just charging up that posture attack and increase your crit chance. Now, for the tools, I just really love my kunais, so that's why I always recommend you to upgrade them to the absolute maximum. Massive damage right here. Also armor piercing and increased damage. I never use shurikens because I think they're terrible. They might be good for affliction builds, but don't go there. one smoke bomb upgrade, one Shinobi bell upgrade, so you can simply use these, and also maximize your back capacity for all the tools. Also pick up the adrenaline generator for maximum gain. And then we can move to Shinobi. This is where we also have a nice amount of abilities. Egan Roll. Upgrade this to literally eliminate all fall damage on your character. Of course, when hitting the roll button right before you hit the ground. Take the vault right here, super important. The attack deflection is not important, but to jump over an enemy and make the target vulnerable. This is why we have the vault over enemies while sprinting ability, so we can basically always make enemies vulnerable when this happens. The next upgrade increases your crit chance by another 25% over 10 seconds when you do this. It's a massive boost you don't want to miss out on. Well, you want to avoid the high vault upgrade at all times. To throw a shuriken midair, which basically makes the distance between you and the target bigger when you land, simply makes it more difficult to land that charged passer attack. Make climbing much faster with a grappling hook. Also take lightning kick if you want. I barely use it, but can be fun. Also increase the knockout duration, which basically serves as a nice crowd control. Don't go for any of the grab upgrades, they aren't relevant to this build. Project D, increased ability damage, increased damage after a vault, very important. And also take the less cooldown on your abilities. So you can primarily constantly spam that tidal wave. But that's it for Shinobi. Let's move on to Assassin. Right here, I don't take the upgrade Improved Sense. I hate it when the mobs are just red all the time. Maximum upgrades for your health segment removal. Also take it against larger enemies, which is super satisfying. Also go for the double assassinations. All these are very important for Naoe still, in my opinion. Assassinate through walls. Increase your ground assassinations. And also pick up as many adrenaline chunks as you can. It's not worth completing the Shinbakufu because that literally means rushing through the main questline. Increase damage against vulnerable enemies by 12. Increase damage during the night. This is like a third of the game time, so it's definitely worth taking. And also increase your damage while HP is full. Priority-wise, from low to high level, first pick up all the essentials in the Katana tree, then also go for the vault bonuses in Shinobi, and after that you can focus on getting your hands on all the rest, including the global passives, as well as the higher ranked knowledge in this tab. Whew, that's a lot of talking, my mouth is dry right now, but yes, everything you need to know about this ultimate Katana build. Enjoyed the content? Leave a like, that would be awesome, as well as sharing your thoughts about the build in the comments down below. Maybe you have more questions, suggestions, leave them right there. And of course, share your variants on the Discord. Right now though, it's 4 AM out. I've got plenty more content on the channel. Good luck with the build. I'll check you guys in the next video or live stream. Peace.